Nitil Vishtam Vishnupar Ashatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhaktivedanta Narayan Gosvāmī Mahārāja Śrīla Gurudev Ki Jai. Nitil Vishtam Vishnupar Ashatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhaktivedanta Vaman Gosvāmī Mahārāja Ki Jai. Nitil Vishtam Vishnupar Ashatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhaktivedanta Swami Mahārāja Śrīla Prabhupāda Ki Jai. Nitil Vishtam Vishnupar Ashatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosvāmī Mahārāja Ki Jai. Nitil Vishtam Vishnupar Ashatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Gosvāmī Prabhupāda Ki Jai. Nitil Vishta Mahābhagavat Śrīla Gaurakiśora Bābājī Mahārāja Ki Jai. Nitil Vishta Śrīla Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Nitil Vishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Śrīla Jagannath Das Bābājī Mahārāja Ki Jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopala Bhattadass Raghunath Shar Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshada Vrinda Ki Jai. Namachay Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sarva Abhishta Bharatta Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Radha Kunna Shama Kunna Ki Jai. Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya Ki Jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai. Shri Uthana Akadashi Titi Ki Jai. Akadashi Titi Palan Kari Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Kartik Vrat Ki Jai. Vrat Palan Kari Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Bhishma Panchak Ki Jai. Shri Urjeshwari Shri Vishabhanunandini Shrimati Radha Thakurani Ki Jai. Śrīla Gaurakiśora Das Bābājī Mahārāja Ki Jai. Tadiya Shubha Tirava Titi Ki Jai. Śrīla Bhakti Dayita Mādhava Gosvāmī Mahārāja Ki Jai. Tadiya Shubha Avirbhav Titi Ki Jai. Shri Vrajmandal Parikrama Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Gaur. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitangscha Om Jnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad Bhakti Vedanta Narayana Pinamini. Shri Krishna Lila Kathane Sudaksham Audarya Madhurya Gunaishcha Yuktam Varam Varenyam Purusham Mahantam Narayanam Tam Shirasa Namami. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Shri Keshava Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad Bhakti Vedanta Vamaneti Namine. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Sarasvatī Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Acharya Singharupine Shri Śrīmad Bhakti Pragyan Keshava Iti Namine. Atimartha Charitraya Swashitanam Chapaline Jiva dukhe sadartaya Shri Nama Premadayine. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī iti namine. Shri Varshabhanavi Devi Dayita Kripabdhaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayane Prapave Namaha. Madhuryo Jala Premadhyaya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute. Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatari Rupanuga Virudapa Siddhanta Dvanta Harine. Namo Gaura-kiśorāya Shakshad Vairagya Murtaye Vipralamba Rasambodhe Padam Pujayate Namaha. Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sachidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Sarupaya Rupanuga Varayate. Gaura Virbhava Bhumistang Nirdeshta Sajjana Priya Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannatayate Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Svapadantikam. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Nityananda namastubhyam premananda pradayane kalo kalmashanashaya janavapataye namaha. Namo mahavadanyaya krishna prema pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura-kiśora Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Jayatang surato pangor mama manda matergati matsarva swapadam pujo radha madana mohano devyad vrindaranya kalpa drumada Śrīmad ratnagara singhasanasto Śrīmad radha Śrīla Govinda devo preshtālivi sevamano smarami Shriman Rasarasarambi Vamshivata Tatastitaha Karshan Venu Swaner Gopir Gopinata Shristuna Angashama Lima Chata Bhiravito Mandi Kritendi Varam Jadyam Jagurarochisham Vidadatam Pattam Varasya Shriya Vrindaranya Vilasinam Hridilasar Dama Viramodaram Radha Skandha Niveshito Jvalabhujam Dhyayema Damodaram Vrindayai Tulsidevai Priyayai Keshavasya Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Satyavatai Namo Namaha. Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I'm going to sing through everything a bit quickly because I started late today. Davanala sama sangsara dahane dagda jiva kulayo dharakarane karuna varida kripa varidani vandi kona sindhu gurur charana kamala nrita gita vadya shri hari kirtane rahena magana mahamata mane romanchakam pashu hoya gora preme vandi she guru charana kamala sadarata jini vigraha sevane Shingarati ar mandira marjane Parena nijukta yanugata jane Vandi she guru charana kamala Charva chushalaya Peya rasamoy Prasadana Krishna rati svaduhoy Bhakta yashvadane nija triptaroy Vandi she guru charana kamala Shri Radha Mādhava namarupa gune Ananta madhurya lila ashvadane Lupta chitta jini hana pratikshane Vandi she guru charana kamala Vraja yuva danda rati sambardhane Yukti kare sakhi gane vrindavane Ati dakshata hai priyatama gane Vandi she guru charana kamala Sarva shastre gaya shri harir swarupa Bhakta gana bhave she anurupa Kintu jini prabhu priyatama rupa Vandi she guru charana kamala Jahara prasade Krishna kripa pai Jahara prasade anya gati nai Trisandha kirti rastava dhyane bhai Vandi she guru charana kamala Guru devastakayati jatna kori Brahma muhurte pore ucha kori Vrindavana nath Shakshat Shri Hari Seva pai Shevastu siddhi kale Vandi she guru charana kamala Vandi she guru charana kamala Guru deva jaya guru deva Guru deva jaya guru deva Jai Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva. Krishna hoite chaturmukha, hoy Krishna seva mukha. Brahma hoite Narada Ramate, Narada hoite Vyasa, Mādhava kohe Vyasa dāsa, Muna pragya parmana bhagati. Hari Mādhava Vangshe Yakshagya Paramahamse Shishya Boli Angikara Kore Akshobhira Shishya Jaya Kirtaname Parichaya Tar Dasa Jnana Sindhu Tore Taha Hoite Ayanidhi Tar Dasa Vidyanidhi Rajendra Hoilo Taha Hoite Tahara Kinkara Jaya Dharma Name Parijaya Parampara Jana Bhalo Mate Jaya Dharma Dase Khyati Shri Purushottama Jati Tahoite Brahmanya Tirtha Suri Vyasa Tirtha Tara Dasa Lakshmi Pati Vyasa Dasa Taha Hoite Madhavendra Puri Madhavendra Puri Vara Shishya Vara Shishvara Nityananda Shri Advaita Vibho Ishvara Puri ke Dhanya Korilen Shri Chaitanya Jagar Guru Gaura Mahaprabhu Shri Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nahayanya Rupanuganera Jivana Vishwambara Priyankara Shri Sarupa Damodara Shri Gosvāmī Rupa Sanatana প্রিয় মহাজন জীব রঘুনাথ তার প্রিয় কবি কৃষ্ণদাস কৃষ্ণদাস প্রিয় বর নারতম সেবা পর ধার পর বিশ্বনাথ विश्वनाथ भक्त सात बलदेव जगन्नाथ तार प्रिय श्री भक्ति विनोद महाभागवत वर श्री गौर-किशोर वर हरि भजन ते जार मोरा शिव श्रवण विवर सदा सेव सेवा पर तार दायित दास नामा प्रभुपाद अंतरंग श्री स्वरूप रूपानुग श्री केशव भक्ति प्रज्ञान गौड़िया वेदांत वेता माया भारत मोहंत गौरवाणी प्रचाराचार धामा प्रचारिलो गौरवाणी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी पुराइलो प्रभुपादेर कामा केशव प्रिय महाजन वामन नारायण गौरवाणी तारे प्राणधाना ए सब हरि जान गौरंगेर निज जान तादेर उच्छिष्टे मोर कामा गुरु परंपरा गुरु परंपरा परंपरा गुरु परंपरा गुरु परंपरा गुरु परंपरा परंपरा गुरु परंपरा वृंदावन वासी जत वैष्णवेर गाना प्रथमे वंदना करी सबर चरण लीलाचाला वासी जत महाप्रभुर गाना भूमिते पड़िया बंदो सभारा चरण नवद्वीप वासी जत महाप्रभुर भक्त सभार चरण बंदो होयानुरक्त महाप्रभुर भक्त जत गौरदेश स्थिति सभार चरण बंदो करिया प्रणाति जे देशे बसे गौरांगेर गाना ऊर्ध्व बाहु करी बंदो सभार चरण अहोयाचेना होइबे प्रभुर जत दासा सभार चरण बंदो दंते करी धासा प्रमाद तरिते शक्ति धरे जाने जाने वेदा पुराणे गुण काजे वसुने महाप्रभुर गाना सब पतित पावन कालो बेमोए पापिलो एनु शरण वंदना करिते मोए कत शक्ति धरी तम बुद्धि दोषे मोए दम्भ मात्र करी तथापि मुखेर भाग्य मनेर उल्लास दोष क्षमी मोह में करोने जदासा सर्ववंश सिद्धि होय जम बंद छूटे जगते दुर्लभ होय प्रेम धन लूटे मनेर वासना पूर्ण अचिराते होय देवकी नंदन दास एलो बेकोय जय वैष्णव ठाकुर जय वैष्णव ठाकुर वैष्णव ठाकुर जय वैष्णव ठाकुर जय वैष्णव ठाकुर वैष्णव ठाकुर वैष्णव ठाकुर जय वैष्णव ठाकुर श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Jive Daya Kori Sapashara Sviya Dhama Sahayavatari Atanta Dulabha Prema Karibare Dana Shikhaya Sharanagati Bhakatera Prana Dhanyayatma Nivedana Gopite Varana Avashara Shive Krishna Vishwasapalana Bhakti Anukula Matra Kayera Shikara Bhakti Pratikula Bhava Bhajanangikara Sharanga Sharanagati Hoibe Jahara Tahara Pradhana Sune Shinanda Kumara Rupa Sanatana Paridante Trina Kori Bhakati Vinora Kore Tumo Pada Dhori Kandiya Kandiya Bole Amito Yadama Shikhaye Sharanagati Karo He Utama Jaya Sapashara Jaya Gaura Hari Sapashara Jaya Gaura Hari Jaya Sapashara Gaura Hari Sapashara Jaya Gaura Hari. Sorry guys. Munindra Vrindavandite. Oh wait. Sorry guys, I'm really, something happens just now. Okay. Krishna De Bhagavantam Vande. Krishna De Bhagavantam Vande. Manamana Samadhukaram Arpayane Japara Pankajama Parande Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande Yadapi Samadhishu Vidhirapi Pashyati Natavakagramarichin Idame Chamine Shamatavachuta Tarapi Kriparvuta Vim Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande Bhakti Rudanchati Yadapi Mādhava Natvai Mamatila Matri Parameshvara Tarapita Vadika Durghata Ghatana Vidhatri Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande Ayama Vilolata Yada Sanatana Kalitar Bhutarasa Bhara Nevasatu Netami Hamritane Dini Vendana Madhurima Sara Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande Jaya Radhe Jaya Jaya Mādhava Dayita Gokulatāruni Mandala Mahite Jaya Radhe Jaya Jaya Mādhava Dayita Damodara Rati Varadhana Veshe Hari Nishkala Kuta Vrindavipineshe Vrishabhanu Dardhi Navashashi Leke Lalita Saki Guna Ramita Vishake Radhe Jaya Jaya Mādhava Dayita Jaya Radhe Jaya Jaya Mādhava Dayita Karuna Gurumai Karuna Bharite Sanaka Sanatana Vanita Charite Jaya Radhe Jaya Jaya Mādhava Dayita Radhe Jaya Jaya Mādhava Dayita Sucharu Vaktramandalam Sukarna Ratna Kundalam Suchachitanga Chandanam Namami Nandanandanam Sudirga Netra Pankajam Shiki Shikanda Murda Jamananga Koti Mohana Namami Nandanandanam Sunasikagra Muktikam Swachandra Danta Panktikam Navam Budanga Chikanam Namami Nandanandanam Karena Venuranjitam Gati Karendra Ganjitam Dukula Pita Shobhanam Namami Nandanandanam Tribanga Deha Sundaram Nakadyuti Surakaram Amulya Ratna Bhushanam Namami Nandanandanam Sugandhayanga Sauravamuro Virajiko Subham Spurvatri Vatsalancanam Namami Nandanandanam Vrindavana Sunagaram Vilasanugavasasam Surendra Garbhamochanam Namami Nandanandanam Prajangana Sunayakam Sada Sukha Pradayakam Jaganmana Pralobanam Namami Nandanandanam Shinandanandanashtakam Paterya Shadayanvita Taret Pavabdim Dustaram Labhetaram Griyugmakam Namami Nandanandanam Namami Nandanandanam Namami Nandanandanam Namami Nandanandanam Munindra Vrindavandite Trilokashokaharini Prasanna Vaktra Pankaje Nekunja Bhuvilasini Rajendra Bhanu Nandini Rajendra Suna Sangate Kada Karishyasi Hamam Kripa Kataksha Bhajanam Ashoka Vriksha Vallari Vitana Mandapasite Pravala Vala Pallava Prabhadunangri Komale Varabhaya Spurat Kare Prabhutta Sampadalaye Kada Karishyasi Hamam Kripa Kataksha Bhajanam Anangaranga Mangala Prasanga Bhangura Bhruvam Savi Brahmam Sasambramam Triganta Bana Patanat Nirantaram Vashikita Pratiti Nandanandane Kada Karishyasi Hamam Kripa Kataksha Bhajanam Tarit Suvarna Champaka Pradipta Gaura Vigrahe Mukha Prabha Parasta Koti Sharadendu Mandale विचित्र चित्र संचरक्षकोरशावलोचने कदा करिष्यसि मम कृपाकटाक्षभाजनं मदोन्मदाति यौवने प्रमोदमानमन्दिते प्रियानुरागरञ्जिते कलाविलासपण्डिते अनन्यधान्यकुञ्जराज कामकेलिकोविदे कदा करिष्यसि मम कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् अशेषहावभावधीर गिरहारभूषिते प्रभूतशातकुम्भकुम्भकुम्भकुम्भिकुम्भसुस्तने प्रशस्तमन्दहास्यचूर्णपूर्णसौख्यसागरे कदा करिष्यसि मम कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् मृणालवल्लवल्लरि तरङ्गरङ्गदोलते लताग्रलास्य लोलनीललोचनावलोकने ललालुलान् नीलान्मनोज्ञमुग्धमोहनाशिते कदा करिष्यसि मम कृपाकटाक्षभाजनं सुवर्णमालिकञ्चित त्रिरेककाम्बुकण्ठगे त्रिसूत्रमङ्गलीगुण त्रिरत्नदीप्तिदीदिति सलोलनीलकुन्तलप्रणभुजगुम्फिते कदा करिष्यसि मम कृपाकटाक्षभाजनं नितम्बबिम्बलम्बमानपुष्पमेखलागुणे प्रशस्तरत्नकिङ्किणी कलापमध्यमञ्जुले करेन्द्रशुण्डदण्डिकावरोह सौभगौरुके कदा करिष्यसि मम कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् अनेकमन्त्रनारमञ्जुनो पुरारवस्थलात् समाजराजहंसवंशनेत्वनाति गौरवे विलोलहेमवल्लरी विडाम्बि चारुचङ्क्रमे कदा करिष्यसि मम कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् अनन्तकोटिविष्णुलोक नम्रपर्मजार्चिते हिमाद्रिजापुलो मजा विरिञ्च जावरप्रदे अपार सिद्धिरिद्धिदीप्तसत्पदाङ्गुलीनखे कदा करिष्यसि मम कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् माहेश्वरी क्रियेश्वरि सरेश्वरि सुरेश्वरि त्रिवेरभारतीश्वरि प्रमाणशासनेश्वरि रमेश्वरि क्षमेश्वरि प्रमोदकाननेश्वरि ब्रजेश्वरि व्रजाधिपे क्षीराधिपे नमोऽस्तुते इति ममार्भुतं स्तवं निशाम्य भानुनन्दिनी करोतु सन्ततं जनं कृपाकटाक्षभाजनं भवेत्तदैव सञ्चिता तिरुपकर्मनाशनं भवेत्तदा व्रजेन्द्रसूनुमण्डल प्रवेशनं कदा करिष्यसि मम कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् नमामीश्वरं सच्चिदानन्दरूपं रसकुण्डलं गोकुले व्रजमानं यशोधभियो लोक लाघवमानं परमृष्टम् अत्यन्तद्रुतं गोप्या नाम ईश्वरं सच्चिदानन्दरूपं रसकुण्डलं गोकुले व्रजमानं रुद्रस्थानं yugma mrijantam param bhoja yugmena satanka netram moshvasakampa trirekhanka kantha sita graiva damodaram bhakti badam iti drik salilabhi ananda kunde sagoshami majantam akyapayantam tadiyeshitargeshu bhakterjitatvam puna prematastam shatavritti vande varam devamo sham namokshavadimva nachanya vrineha varishara piha idante vapurnata gopala pala sada me manasa virastam kimanyai nama vishwaram sachirananda rupam lasat kundalam gokule braja manam idante mukam bojam avyakta nilat vritam kuntala snigdharata ishtagopya mohushyomitam dimbarakta dharane manasya virastam alam nakshalabhay namo deva damodarananta vishnu prasida prabhu tukha jalabdhi magnam vipadrishti vrishtati dinam vatano vihane shama margyame dakshi deshai namam sharam satiranandaru rasa kundalam gokule prajamanam kuveratmajo vadamurtai vayarvat kayamachito bhakti bhajo kritocha tatha prema bhakti sakame prayacha namokshe gavame stidhamodareya namaste studane spuradipti dhane kadyadarayata vishvasa dhane nam radhikaya tadiya priyaya namanantalilaya devaya tobhyam nam radhikaya tadiya priyaya nam radhikaya tadiya priyaya namanantalilaya devaya tobhyam namanantalilaya devaya tobhyam Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Damodara Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Damodara Radha Damodara Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol Jai Shri Sachinandan Gaur Hari Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Damodar Ju Ki Jai, Śrīla Gurudev Ki Jai, Śrīla Param Gurudev Ki Jai, Śrīla Prabhupāda Ki Jai, Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai, Śrīla Gaurakiśora Bābājī Mahārāja Ki Jai, Tadiya Shubha Thira Bhakti Ki Jai, Śrīla Bhakti Dayita Mādhava Gosvāmī Mahārāja Ki Jai, Tadiya Shubha Abhirbhav Titi Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Kartik Vrat Ki Jai, Vrat Palankari Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Uttana Karashi Titi Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Vo. While I was singing, I got a bit distracted because, anyways, no need to even mention. I'll just mention it since I started. It just hit me for some reason all of a sudden while I was in the middle of singing that I changed my ticket on November 2nd for the 24th November. Because before my ticket was for 10th November. So yeah, I called the airlines and I changed the ticket and I even paid for it. There's a little bit extra for this flight. But then I just realized that I never got the ticket. I changed my ticket a few times and every time I change my ticket, they always send me the ticket back. But I just forgot to follow up with them. Why did I not get my ticket yet? And so then all of a sudden it hit me, maybe it didn't actually go through. And so then I was checking my bank, and I checked the airline website, and I was doing all that while I was singing, which was really bad. I should have just been focusing, but I couldn't. My mind was just too, I'm still, I still don't know if I actually missed my flight. And anyways, I'm going to call them after the reading, but that's why I was a little bit distracted while I was singing most of the time. Anyways, sorry about that. Okay, let me share my screen. Today we're going to read about Śrīla Gaurakiśora Bābājī Mahārāja, an article from Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Prabhupāda. It was published in Rays of the Harmonist, 2011. And then after that, we'll read a glorification by Śrīla Bhakti Pramoda Purī Gosvāmī Mahārāja on the glories of Śrīla Bhakti Dayita Mādhava Gosvāmī Mahārāja. Oh, nice! That's great. Very cool. All right, so let me share my screen again. Actually, let me open it up first. Okay, there. Okay. All right, so this is the article, Śrīla Gaurakiśora, the Deity of Ideal Renunciation, by Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Prabhupāda. And these are excerpts from a glorification he gave on Śrīla Gaurakiśora Bābājī Mahārāja's disappearance day, which is today. My Shri Guru Pad Padma is not a teacher of... My Shri Guru Pad Padma is not a teacher of any of the illusory subjects of this world, which are aimed only at enjoyment. Yet, at the same time, he alone is the indisputable genius in every subject in this world. Sadly, because I am deprived and fallen, because of my own weaknesses, not all of my Guru Pad Padma's teachings have entered my heart. But in order to speak of all the teachings that, by my Guru Pad Padma's mercy, have somehow entered through the pathways of my ears, may I possess millions upon millions of tongues, millions upon millions of heads, and millions upon millions of years to live. Then I will be able to sing about the unparalleled compassion and benevolence, the Amanda Daya Daya of my Guru Pad Padma throughout the unlimited universes with millions and millions of tongues and millions of heads for millions and millions of years. Only then will I have truly performed Guru Puja. Only then will he be pleased with me and shower his perpetual blessings upon me so that I can sing the glory of his matchless compassion with another million tongues. On that day, I will finally be liberated from singing about fleeting illusory matters. On that day, I will be released from the captivity of all the mundane teachings of this world. Rupanuga Guru. Considering my favorite worldly objects to be considering my favorite worldly objects to be very important and valuable, I accepted them deeply into my heart. Thus, I remain madly infatuated with the unconscious world. However, my Gurudev has repeatedly instructed, Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. When will such a master as Sri Rupa, who has propagated and established the deepest desire of Sri Chaitanya Dev's heart throughout the world, personally give me the shelter of his own lotus feet? When will I behold Sri Guru Pad Padma's extraordinary transcendental beauty and take shelter single-mindedly at his beautiful feet? When will such a day be mine? I have heard from Sri Guru Pad Padma that those who adopt this mentality are Rupanuga and are therefore very dear to Sri Gaura Sundar. And as for those who even endeavor to become Rupanuga, Sri Brahma himself could not finish extolling their good fortune, even if he spent his entire life trying. Sri Guru Pad Padma has eradicated all my doubts and instructed me on the matter of Nam Bhajan. Through this, I came to know that one should not disobey Guru. That is, one should not disobey Shrotavani, the divine message, which descends through the succession of bona fide Gurus. Nor should one regard Guru Bhruva, or so-called Gurus, as worshipful, and thereby disrespect Sri Guru Pad Padma. One should know that without taking refuge of the non-dual absolute truth for Jendranandan, there is no auspiciousness for the living entity. Give up everything and stay with me. My Gurudev, I am audacious. Is that how you say audacious? Audacious, yeah. I am audacious to say my Gurudev. Is my heart so qualified that I can utter this? How exalted are even the toenails of my Guru, and where am I, a dwarf, on the lowest platform? How can I even serve Guru Pad Padma? While I sleep, I am robbed of Guru Pad Padma's service. At that time, I remain deeply immersed in selfish pleasure, and I spend the rest of my time feeding and dressing myself. Being bereft of service to Guru Pad Padma, I am unqualified, fallen, and weak. Therefore, had he not profusely showered me with his compassion, I would have been even more aggressively exploited by the very nature of his mercy than I was doing already. I would have even more aggressively exploited the very nature of his mercy than I was doing already. My Guru Pad Padma is the ocean of mercy, and even one drop of his mercy can drown me in an ocean of bliss. How merciful was he that he used to say to me, your scholarship, your purity, and your aristocracy, give it all up and stay with me. You will not have to go anywhere. You will not have to go anywhere else. Whatever you need, a cottage, a house, a mansion, a palace, whatever scholarship and prestige you need, or whatever degree of self-control and renunciation you wish to attain, you will get it all by being here. Just come to me. Do not run here and there, impelled by desires like, I must have a nice home, I must find good means to achieve material success, and I must become vastly learned. Do not aspire to achieve that what ordinary people value so much. I was a fearsome logician. I was a fearsome logician, but out of immense compassion, he kicked my pride aside. Thus he showed me his mercy. If I were to try to find the limits of his mercy, I would not succeed, even if I continued searching for unlimited lifetimes. In fact, no one will ever find its limit. I am in no way qualified to introduce myself as his servant. Still, he has suffused me with the hope that I can identify myself as his servant, and through that hope, I can always stay alive. I used to feel that I was drowning in joylessness, nirananda, and that I was absorbed in so many temporary activities. It is clear that I am weak, so I felt that when my Sri Guru would disappear, I would go astray, for then I would not be able to hear his teachings. But today, many incarnations of Sri Guru Padma have mercifully presented themselves before me. And these incarnations refers to his pure disciples, his sad shishyas. He's considering them the incarnations of his Gurudev. They do kirtan in front of me, and they read the Bhagavatam and explain it to me. When they reveal ever-fresh explanations in accordance with my Sri Guru Padma's heart, they bring life back to my dying body. Only because of this, I regain consciousness and attain the good fortune of hearing and speaking Harikatha 24 hours a day, every day. The Deity of Renunciation. Renunciation is something I'd only read about in stories, or had read instructions on in books like Vairagya Shataka, 100 verses regarding renunciation, Shanti Shataka, 100 verses regarding peace, and Moha Mudgara, the hammer that demolishes illusion. But when the mercy of that most compassionate Lord, Sri Krishna, and of that most compassionate Krishna, Krishna's devotee, both fell upon me, the personification of Bhagavan's own renunciation, Bhagavan's own Vairagya, appeared before me. Although it is not possible for such renunciation to inhabit a human form, I nevertheless had the opportunity to see it in Sri Guru Padma. Yet, despite seeing him, I have somehow remained in the same darkness. My body gives me obstacles and I am unable to serve Guru Padma 24 hours a day. The deity of ideal renunciation, whom I personally beheld, was not the embodiment of renunciation that merely demolishes illusion, nor of pretentious renunciation, Falgur Vairagya. The renunciation he embodied was replete with the pinnacle of service to Krishna, steeped in Mahabhav. May he whose renunciation extends not only to wealth and women, but to personal prestige as well, be my object of worship. I aspired for the lotus feet of such a Sri Guru, who would not accept even a single disciple. Still, I presented myself before him, begged for his mercy. He told me, I made one disciple previously, but that disciple cheated me and left, so I have decided not to make any more disciples. Although I was distressed by his reply, I made a firm vow. I will see how many lifetimes I am rejected, but without his mercy, I will not venture out into the world. He pulverized my pride. When I came before that very Guru Padma, I could understand by his mercy that what I had considered to be the topmost ideal and the best way of life was to him the lowest of all. Although my ideal was extraordinary compared to the ideals of the people of this world, my Sri Guru Padma showed me one conception that was truly and absolutely transcendent. Prior to this revelation, I had studied many books by impersonalists expounding the idea of neti, a systematic negation of mundane attachments and designations. And there's a footnote. The phrase na iti, which becomes neti with sandhi, which means it is not this, it is not this, is the answer to the question, is this Brahma? In other words, if someone seeks the absolute spirit through empirical investigation, he will inevitably engage in negating all perceivable objects and designations, deeming them non-absolute. So I had studied many books by impersonalists expounding this idea. Now I had found an actual exemplar of it. Sri Guru Padma told me, the ideal you now seek is not your true ideal. I used to think that my Guru Padma's caliber of renunciation was second to none, but that his erudition was somewhat... I used to think that my Guru Padma's caliber of renunciation was second to none, but that his erudition was somewhat lacking. He pulverized my pride and my book knowledge by the mallet of his mercy, and made me understand that my topmost ideal was in fact the most despicable. When these words of his entered my ears, when I received his mercy, my tiny brain did not have the strength to hold that divine knowledge. He had given an opportunity to a fool and a know-it-all like me to hear such a profound matter. My Guru Padma never became involved in any matter of this world, but he pretended to bestow his mercy upon an unqualified person like me. The renunciation of the world's most renounced personalities cannot compare to even a tiny fraction of 100th part of his renunciation. Śrīla Raghunath Das Goswami Prabhu's renunciation was fully manifest in my Prabhu. If the account of his life is published in the world, if my Guru Varga publishes an account of his transcendental life in simple language and propagates it everywhere, then the entire world will be vastly benefited. And there's a footnote here when it says, if my Guru Varga. Srila Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Thakur Prabhupāda here refers to his disciples as his Guru Varga. Wow. So he's saying, if my Guru Varga, my disciples, publishes an account of his transcendental life in simple language and propagates it everywhere, then the entire world will be vastly benefited. My Guru Padma did not only say that one should give up wealth and women, rather, he instructed that even the urge to portray oneself as a great saint must be renounced. He was a Bhagavat Paramahamsa. Open your eyes. People say that today is the disappearance day of my Guru Padma. However, I consider that today is his appearance day, and that I may worship him for eternity by glorifying him with a million mouths and millions of other senses. Compelled by passion, my Sri Guru Padma has appeared in this world to bestow upon me the collyrium of knowledge, the divine realization that I am a servant of Nandan. Isn't collyrium like the black ointment that you put on your eyes? Like kajal? Let me just see. Look up collyrium. A medicated eye wash, a kind of dark eyeshadow used especially in Eastern countries. Yeah, it does mean kajal. Due to my ignorance, I have come to believe that enjoying the objects of the senses was my duty and purpose in life. Thus, I had completely lost sight of my real duty. But my Sri Guru Padma has appeared in this world to dispel the darkness of my ignorance. Unable to see that supreme object, which is impossible to see with these eyes that simply obstruct what I am meant to hold in my sight eternally, and unable to see that supreme object, which is the only thing worth seeing. All I can see is the sensual veil that is my eyes. Thus, all I see is sense gratification within this transient world. However, Sri Guru Padma removes the veil from my eyes and grants me true sight by divine knowledge. He pulls away the veil that covers my eyes, slightly parts my eyelids, and instructs me, "Open your eyes and look. For so long, I thought I could see with my eyes. For so long, I thought I could see with my eyes shut. So I am abandoning my pride and offering namaskar to Shri Guru Pad Padma. This indeed is the ingredient, the arghya of my worship. The act of renouncing the arrogant conception that I am the seer and enjoyer is called namaskar. When I was nurturing the misconception that I am the doer, Shri Guru Pad Padma opened my eyes and dismissed my notions of reality, which were improperly conceived. Driven by some other knowledge, I was following the blind. Guru Padma made me realize that I must not follow the blind, that I must follow Shri Guru Pad Padma, who is possessed of divine vision, and that to worship Shri Guru Pad Padma was my duty. Service to Shri Guru Pad Padma is the real activity of my being. By Guru Pad Padma's grace, I have developed the conviction that service to him is my one and only duty, and is, in fact, the real activity of my being. And after having darshan of Guru Pad Padma, the conviction that there is any necessity of doing something other than serving him was totally dispelled. Just to rescue me from the clutches of arrogance, Bhagavan's beloved servant, his most cherished companion, revealed to me eternal service to Nanda Nandan, for he was overwhelmed by compassion. Only then could I understand that in relation to the living entity's true identity, there is no duty and no source of auspiciousness apart from satisfying the senses of Nanda Nandan. The son of Nanda is the sole object of the living entity's spiritual practice, and attaining him is the one and only goal. And Shri Guru Pad Padma is Nanda Nandan's very dearly beloved. Service to that Guru Pad Padma cannot be performed by inept persons like me, not by body, not by mind, not by words, and not by any other type of instrument. However, Shri Guru Pad Padma infuses me with potency and looks at me with loving eyes. Perhaps, if I can obtain his grace, then by his causeless, heartfelt mercy, I may achieve the qualification to serve him. I am not speaking theoretically. The day Shri Guru Pad Padma placed his lotus feet, which are unattainable even for demigods, upon the head of such an undeserving person as me, and bathed me in the dust and bathed me in their dust, was the day I was first able to understand what my supreme auspiciousness was. A spiritual master such as Shri Guru Pad Padma wields the power to give service to the Supreme. May I have the ability to assimilate that awesome mercy. From that day, I certainly sought to receive such incomparable auspiciousness from Shri Guru Pad Padma. Shri Guru Pad Padma is an exclusive servant of the Lord. If I cannot obtain his mercy, if I cannot obtain divine knowledge, then I will not even be able to comprehend the glory of Guru Pad Padma. Shri Guru Pad Padma is eternal. May I not be bereft of his company for even a moment. Within even a moment of time, my bond with Guru Pad Padma can be broken. So may I never abandon Guru Pad Padma for even 1/11th of a second, enticed by mundane temptation. May I never cheat myself of my connection to Guru Pad Padma on account of heeding useless advice from worldly people who are fully adverse to him. Shri Guru Pad Padma can protect me from all these deceptive perils. So at the beginning of every year, of every month, of every day, and of every moment, it is my duty to worship that Shri Guru Pad Padma. My Gurudev is present in various forms. If he did not exist in so many forms, then who would protect me? Those whom my Gurudev took to be his own are my saviors. But as for those who blaspheme my Guru Pad Padma, or anyone who gives shelter to those who blaspheme them, may those inauspicious wretches never cross the path of my vision. At every moment, he draws me to his lotus feet to keep there. The moment I stray from Guru Pad Padma, the moment I forget Shri Guru Pad Padma, is the moment I very fall from truth. If I do not remember Guru Pad Padma at the onset of every year, every month, day, and moment, I will surely meet with more and more peril. I will desire to be Guru and will adopt the wicked mentality that others ought to call me Guru and worship me. Thus, I will have succumbed to the meaningless infatuations, Dvitiya Abhinivesh. So, it should not be that I came to perform Guru Puja today. It should be that at every moment we are engaging in an eternal Guru Puja. Translated from Nikata Kala Varti Charupanuga Vaishnavacharya, Exalted Rupanuga Vaishnavacharyas of present times, compiled, translated, and edited by Śrīmad Bhaktivedanta Narayana Gosvāmī Mahārāja, originally published in the weekly Gaudiya. Wow. What time is it now? It's 7:28. Okay, so now I'm going to read, that was powerful. Now I'm going to read an article by Śrīla Bhakti Pramoda Purī Gosvāmī Mahārāja on the glories of... Okay, Ashwin, I'll share it with, I'll share it, yes. Give me a second. How do I share it? I know how to share it. I'll just get the link for it. Okay, so I go purebhakti.com. Rays of the Harmonist, 2011. Vyasa-puja. Let's see, I think that will bring it up. Oops, I made a mistake. Anyways, let's see if what that does. Dang it, that didn't work. 1 second. I think that will work. There it is. Okay, here it is. I'm posting it in the comments. All right, it should be there in the comments and YouTube. All right, so now I'm going to read, let me just open it up here. And later on today, I would like to read more. I don't know what time I'll read, but because my Gurudev gives a class on Śrīla Gaurakiśora's Bābājī Mahārāja. There's also glorifications by Śrīla Bhakti Vallabha Gosvāmī Mahārāja and Śrīla Bhakti Mādhava Gosvāmī Mahārāja. And, you know, it'd be nice to read that also. So let's see. I'll try to find time sometime today to read that as well. Show reader. Okay. November 15th, 2021 is the appearance day of Śrīmad Bhakti Dayita Mādhava Gosvāmī Mahārāja, the founder Acharya of Śrī Chaitanya Gaudiya Math, and the revered spiritual master of Śrīmad Bhakti and Bhāratī Gosvāmī Mahārāja. The following is an excerpt from Volcanic Energy by Śrīla Bhāratī Gosvāmī Mahārāja, wherein Śrīmad Bhakti Pramoda Purī Gosvāmī Mahārāja glorifies Śrīla Bhakti Dayita Mādhava Gosvāmī Mahārāja. Here's a picture of Śrīla Bhakti Dayita Mādhava Gosvāmī Mahārāja. Okay. At 9 o'clock in the morning on Shukla Pratipadati, the 16th day of the month of Govinda, 492 according to the Gaurabda calendar, Tuesday, 27 February 1979 according to the Gregorian calendar, on the auspicious disappearance day of Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Śrīla Jagannath Das Bābājī Mahārāja and Śrīla Rasikananda Dev Goswami, the founder and present Acharya of Śrī Chaitanya Gaudiya Math, an institution with branches across the country. The most respected Trajandi Swami Śrīmad Bhakti Dayita Mādhava Gosvāmī Mahārāja concluded his pastimes in this world while in his Bhajan Kutir in Śrī Chaitanya Gaudiya Math, situated at 35 Satish Mukherjee Road in South Kolkata, amidst the tumultuous chanting of the holy names of Bhagavan. He entered into the third yam, or forenoon pastimes, of the Ashtakaliya Nitya Lila of Shri Shri Radha Govinda Gopinath Madan Mohan Nayananath, with a desire to meet Shri Shyamasundar at Shri Radhakund at noon. Wow. Identifying himself as a servant of Shri Varshabhanavi Dayita Das, he has most eagerly entered into the eternal service of his Gurudev. Although it is a matter of great joy that he has attained the eternal service of his most worshipful Shri Shri Radha Govindaji in their transcendental abode, Shri Goloka Vrindavan, which is situated far beyond this illusory material world, the pain and spiritual loss felt in the hearts of his beloved associates and followers due to his physical absence is extremely unbearable. His godbrothers, his countless disciples, both ladies and men, and all the ladies and gentlemen who are attracted to his divine qualities, today, realizing themselves to be completely helpless and without shelter, cry bitterly. His most enchanting, divine lotus face, his peaceful, soft, and pleasing bright complexion, which sparkled like gold, and his extremely soft body, which was just like a lotus, befit his unlimitedly compassionate heart, which was completely full of egalitarian kindness for all. Wow, beautiful picture of him doing kirtan. Look at that. Oops, I just lost my spot. There. His divinely benevolent character was completely devoid of the concept of mine and yours. He truly embodied the phrase, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The world is one family. His sweet voice, which sounded as if it were submerged in honey, was ripe with true love and affection. He was insurmountably passionate in preaching the principles of pure devotional service to Shri Shri Guru Gauranga, and his efforts to that end were untiring. He was unceasingly affectionate to his fellow godbrothers, and he possessed a strong paternal love for his disciples. Shishya Vatsalya. Shri Mahāraja's expertise in refuting misconceptions about the path of bhakti was extraordinary, as was his ability to establish the actual principles of bhakti, which are based on the authentic scriptures. He energetically excavated the lost places of pilgrimage, propagated the importance of following Vaishnava etiquette, manifested the service of deities by establishing many mats, yearly organized Sri Navadip Parikrama, and triennially, I don't know how I say that, every 3 years, right? Yeah, every 3 years, he organized Sri Vrajmandal Parikrama. He was capable of drawing out the jewel-like essence of any subject by churning the ocean of the scriptures. And what is more, he virtuously preached those teachings by imbibing them in his personal conduct. Another picture of him. His attachment to Bhagavad Bhajan was astonishing. His tolerance and humility were exemplary. He considered himself as worthless, even though he possessed the most desirable qualities in terms of family background, conduct, knowledge, and intelligence. Despite possessing these qualities, he was completely devoid of pride. He was enthusiastic to distribute the Prem Dharma of Sri Chaitanya Dev everywhere, without considering the caste or creed of those to whom he was distributing it. He desired to assist every living entity in attaining his or her eternal welfare. He was completely devoid of any desire for worldly gain, recognition, or fame. He possessed sincere faith in rendering service to Sri Hari, Guru, and Vaishnavas. These are but a few of his countless divine qualities. As these qualities appear one by one in the consciousness of the devotees, who now feel themselves bereft of his association, the agony of their separation from him is exponentially increased in the core of their hearts. One second, just checking one thing. Okay, The president and acharya of Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Math appeared in this world in 1903 on Uttana Ekadashi in the Kanchanapara village of the Faridapur district of Bangladesh. His father, the late Nishikanta Bandyopadhyaya, a renowned personality in that province, named him Shri Heramba Kumar Bandyopadhyaya. Srila Acharya Dev's mother's name was Srimati Shaivalini Devi. Although his father was a resident of Bharakar village in Dhaka, Srila Acharya Dev was born at his maternal ancestral place, the aforementioned village of Kanchanapara. After his birth, he spent the next 4 years in Faridapur with his father. When Sri Acharya Dev lost his father in his childhood, he returned to Kanchanapara, and it was there that he spent his childhood and attended school. From his very childhood, he exhibited great faith in spiritual activities. His sacred thread ceremony was conducted at the age of 7. From then onwards, as per the instructions of his religiously devout mother, he would regularly study the scriptures like Sri Mahabharata, Sri Ramayana, Śrīmad Bhagavad Gita, and others. Because his mother regularly recited Śrīmad Bhagavad Gita to him, he memorized it in its entirety, and his belief that its subject matter is the complete real truth became firm and unflinching. Since his early childhood, he was habituated to lead a firmly disciplined life. He was widely renowned in the community as a Naishtika Brahmachari, or a committed lifelong celibate. By the effect of the matchless sweetness of his divine body, which is tall, brightly complexioned, flawlessly beautiful, wonderfully well-formed, and majestically radiant, and his kind behavior, he held leading positions in various fields of activity since his time as a student. His desirable qualities and competence were readily visible when he took part in sports and acted in amateur plays based on spiritual subjects. He was always a frontrunner when he participated in social service activities. For example, he helped poor students by establishing a library, and also took part in the nation's freedom movement. Sounds like my Param Gurudev. His deep faith and proficiency in spiritual subjects was evident, even in his childhood. Everybody was amazed to observe his acute intelligence during his life as a student. Later in his youth, after studying various scriptures, including Vedanta, he studied the spiritual literature related to Bhakti, namely Śrīmad Bhagavatam and Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. As he became increasingly attracted to the highly profound principles of Vaishnava Dharma, he realized that since these scriptures are topmost, it is most sensible to follow them while under the guidance of a true spiritual master and to dedicate one's life to preaching their message. Wow, so beautiful, huh? During his youth, his renunciation of worldly objects became quite pronounced. He renounced the material world and first went to Haridwar, and later to the Himalayas in order to perform penances. There, inside a cave, after he had been absorbed in meditating on the Supreme Lord for some days according to a severely austere procedure, he suddenly received a divine order to return to Bengal. After doing so, he met Om Vishnupad Ashtatara Shatashi Śrīmad Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Gosvāmī Thakur Prabhupāda, the founder Acharya of Sri Chaitanya Math and other Gaudiya Math branches, and within a short time accepted the shelter of his lotus feet. From then on, he followed and extensively preached the teachings of pure Prem Bhakti as practiced and taught by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. By virtue of his unflinching single-pointed devotion to the lotus feet of his Gurudev, and by the mercy he received from him, he quickly became renowned as a glorious preacher who was among the associates of Srila Prabhupāda, who gave him the name Sri Hayagriva Brahmachari. Later, when he accepted the renounced order of life, he became known as Parivrajacacharya Tridandi Swami Shri Śrīmad Bhakti Dayita Mādhava Gosvāmī Mahārāja. He had accepted the mood of one in the renounced order during his steadfast brahmacharya. by the divine influence of his wonderfully magnanimous and most ideal conduct, and by the effect of listening to his highly potent Harikatha, thousands of people, both men and women, from all over the country, from east to west, north to south, all of them became attracted to Śrīmad Mahaprabhu's Prem Dharma and accepted initiation into Gaudiya Vaishnava Dharma, became established in following the etiquette of devotional service, and are now performing sadhan bhajan. Wow. The manner in which Srila Acharya Dev, Śrīmad Bhakti Dayita Mādhava Gosvāmī Mahārāja established magnificent preaching centers, which included non-profit and volunteer-based Sanskrit educational institutions, libraries to facilitate debates on comparative religion, primary and higher secondary schools, charitable hospitals, and many other types of organizations in each region of the country: Sri Vrindavan in the north, Guwahati in the east, Chandigarh in the west, and Hyderabad in the south, and many other mats at different locations, was simply supernatural and divine, as was the way in which, within a single lifetime, he laboriously and passionately preached to everyone the Prem Dharma practiced and preached by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, irrespective of the caste and creed. He extensively preached to both the highest and the lowest communities of society, to the rich and the poor alike. As a result, countless men and women from different castes all over the country have been initiated into Śrīmad Mahaprabhu's Prem Dharma and have become established in following Vaishnava etiquette. Above all, his most extraordinary and unique contribution to the larger Sri Sarasvatī Gaudiya Vaishnava community is his untiring 12-year effort to acquire and manifest the glories of the divine appearance place of Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Ashtatara Shatashi Śrīmad Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Thakur Prabhupāda, the founder Acharya of the many branches of Sri Chaitanya Mat and Sri Purī Dham. My Gurudev, Śrīla Prabhupāda, is glorified by the words Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute. I offer heartfelt obeisances to the embodiment of Sri Gaurasundar's mercy potency. As a result of the mercy of that Sri Gurudev, his dearest associate, Sri Śrīmad Bhakti Dayita Mādhava Gosvāmī Mahārāja, has fulfilled his heartfelt desire by preaching throughout the world the very name, form, qualities, and pastimes he, Śrīla Prabhupāda, previously glorified. Now, being again drawn in by that very mercy, Sri Mādhava Mahārāja has accepted the eternal shelter of Śrīla Prabhupāda's divine lotus feet, which bestow freedom from sorrow and fear, and which are the source of eternality. It is for this reason alone that Sri Kaviraj Goswami has boldly proclaimed in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya Lila 7:11, Krishna Shakti Vina Nahe Tar Pravartan. One cannot propagate the Nam Sankirtan without being empowered by Krishna. Just as Śrīmad Mahaprabhu enriched his dearest associate, that is my Gurudev, Śrīla Prabhupāda, by bestowing upon him his own effulgent form and prized quality of magnanimity, before sending him to this material world to preach the glories of the Lord's holy names and service, Śrīla Prabhupāda similarly sent his dearest associate, Sri Bhakti Dayita Mādhava Gosvāmī Prabhu, into this material world after bestowing upon him his own effulgent form and prized qualities, and infusing him with his limitless power of mercy, his Kripa Shakti. I'm just looking 1 second. I got distracted for a second, so I missed. Mahaprabhu enriched his dearest associate, Śrīla Prabhupada, by bestowing upon him his effulgent. In the same way, Śrīla Prabhupada sent his dear associate, Bhakti Dayita Mādhava Gosvāmī. Okay, yes. As a consequence of receiving this power of Sri Gurudev's mercy, he quickly established skyscraper-like temples and mats in almost every state and the vast expanse of this country, whose borders are now formed by the Himalayas in the north and the ocean in the south. In this way, he instituted the service of the deities of Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari and preached the glories of Shri Harinam Mahamantra, which is adorned with 32 syllables. After accomplishing these services here in this world, he is again returned to serve the lotus feet of his Gurudev. All the associates of Śrīmad Mahaprabhu, like Sri Sarup Damodar Goswami, Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatana Goswami, and others, have entered into the Lord's eternal pastimes after fulfilling Śrīmad Mahaprabhu's most cherished desires, and subsequently, all other Guru Vargas who came in their disciplic succession have, under the guidance of Sri Gurudev, attained the eternal shelter of Sri Guru's lotus feet, and thereby gains the qualification to render service to Shri Shri Radha Krishna Yugal in their amorous pastimes after fulfilling the most cherished desires of their respective Guru Varga. We too should similarly follow with our body, mind, and words the lotus footsteps, that is, the teachings and conduct of all such exalted personalities. Śrīmad Mahaprabhu offered the garland hanging from his own neck to his followers and instructed them to engage in kirtan of Shri Krishna's names, which are our most cherished possession. Apana galara mala sabakare diya, agya kore prabhu sabe Krishna gao giya, bolo Krishna bhajo Krishna gao Krishna naam, Krishna binu keho kichu na babi ho ana. Jadi ama prati sneha thake sabakar, tave Krishna vyaktirikta na gai beyar. Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat Madhya Khanda 28, 25-27. Offering his own garland to everyone, Sri Gaur Hari advised, sing Krishna, speak about Krishna, serve Krishna, and invoke his name. Know for certain that there is nothing other than Krishna. If you have affection for me, then sing only of Krishna and no one else. Therefore, our duty after his disappearance is to fulfill his most cherished desire by performing that service that is dearest to him. In Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 22:109, Śrīla Kaviraj Goswami has written, wait, it's missing. One second, let me take it off of this reading view. Looks like there's a part missing here. Anyways, let me bring it back to reading view. And Sri Jagadananda Pandit has said, Gaurar ami, muke bolila nahi chale. Gaurar achar, gaurar vichar, loile phala phale. That's from Prem Vivarta 8.6. Simply saying, I am Gaura's, does not suffice. The fruit is only attained when one follows Gaura's conduct and conceptions. Gaura achar, gaurar vichar, loile phala phale. Therefore, we must thoroughly follow Śrīmad Mahaprabhu's teachings and conduct by body, mind, and soul. In accordance with the principles stated in Raghuvamsha 1446, Agya Gurunam Hya Vicharaniya, the order of the spiritual master must be obeyed without consideration, which has been quoted in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 10:145. The most distinguished way for a disciple to express his or her love for Sri Guru is to take a vow to endeavor to fulfill Sri Gurudev's most cherished desire by mind, body, and words. Just before completing his manifest pastimes in this world, my most worshipful Srila Prabhupada expressed his desire to hear two bhajans. Tuhun Daya Sagara, which is Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's translation of the second verse of Śrīmad Mahaprabhu's Shri Shikshastak, and Shri Rupa Manjari Pada, a kirtan from Shri Nartam Das Thakur's Prarthana. In this way, he very precisely revealed our life's only duty. With a great sense of grief in our heart that arises from deep-rooted feelings of separation from Sri Gurudev, we must weep and vow to fulfill his most cherished desires. Showing a complete disregard toward fulfilling Sri Gurudev's desires on account of the agony of separation can never be considered a proper example of loving devotion. This is so important. Let me reread that. Showing a complete disregard toward fulfilling Sri Gurudev's desires on account of the agony of separation can never be considered a proper example of loving devotion. So separation means we surrender ourselves, we sacrifice ourselves towards fulfilling Gurudev's desires. If we're not doing that, then that means that there's no separation. It is only because of our disinclination towards rendering service that Sri Acharya Dev manifested his sickness pastimes. For many years prior to his leaving this world, he enacted the pastime of suffering from a heart ailment. Both his disciples and his highly expert doctors had repeatedly advised him to take rest, but no one among them was able to restrain him. The volcano of Krishna Kirtan, who is always full of volcanic energy, they weren't able to restrain him, who was the volcano of Krishna Kirtan, full of volcanic energy. He would say, "I have taken birth as a mortal human, and I will thus one day have to face death. It would therefore be better for me to use my last breath to perform Krishna Kirtan, as Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has described, Bhajite bhajite shamaya ashile e deha chariya divo. Absorbed in bhajan, when the time arrives, I shall readily give up this body." Although he was personally never in favor of consulting a doctor or Kaviraj, an Ayurvedic physician, he was unable to deny the persistent requests of his disciples. Thus, the doctor would be called every so often to administer medicines according to his prescription. Those who served Shri Maharaj did so to the best of their abilities, and there was no margin for error in their service. For 2 months, devotees remained awake both day and night and took turns lovingly serving him with the utmost sincerity. In this way, they remained engaged in the service of their Gurudev. However, Kripa kori Krishna more diyachila sangha, swatantra Krishnera icha koila sangha bhanga. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Antilila 1194. Krishna mercifully gave me the association of a Vaishnava, but he is independent in his desires, and has now severed that association. His prominent servitors, namely Chidandi Swami Shri Śrīmad Bhakti Vallabha Tirtha Maharaj, Śrīmad Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaj, Śrīmad Bhakti Lalita Giri Maharaj, Śrīmad Bhakti Sundar Nrsimha Maharaj, Śrīmad Bhakti Bhushan Bhagavat Maharaj, Śrīmad Bhakti Prasad Puri Maharaj, Śrīmad Bhakti Vaibhav Aranya Maharaj, Shri Mangal Nilai Brahmachari, Shri Pareshanu Bhava Brahmachari, Shri Madan Gopal Das Brahmachari, Shri Nityananda Das Brahmachari, Shri Nritya Gopal Das Brahmachari, and others are fortunate to have tirelessly rendered service to their Gurudev day and night. Let's see this picture. Wow. See Śrīla Bhāratī Gosvāmī Mahārāja there? Okay. While he manifested his sickness pastimes, devotees arranged for Nam Sankirtan and the recitation of various scriptures, like Śrīmad Bhagavad Gita and Śrīmad Bhagavatam, and devotional prayers to be continuously performed in both the mat and hospital. During that time, non-stop continuous Nam Sankirtan lasting for 3 days and 3 nights was sometimes performed in the mat. From the time he entered the Nitya Lila of the eternal abode of Braj at 9 o'clock in the morning on 27 February 1979, until the time his divine body was offered Samadhi in Sri Dham Mayapur, the loud congregational chanting of the divine holy names continued on. By great fortune, the presence of the Nam Bhajananandi Shripad Krishna Das Bābājī Mahārāja ensured that all services were smoothly accomplished and were accompanied by the loud chanting of the holy names. Shri Bhagavat Das Brahmachari and many others accompanied Shri Bābājī Mahārāja in that Nam Sankirtan. In the Nam Kirtan. At 4 o'clock in the evening on 27th February 1979, Pujapad Maharaj Shri was brought out of his room on his bed, taken into his dear temple hall, the Sankirtan Bhavan, and was placed in full view of his eternally worshipful life and soul, Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Radha Nayananatha Ju. Countless devotees, both men and women, offered him flowers and garlands while continuously singing his glories as streams of tears poured forth from their eyes, an extremely heart-warming scene. All Pujapad Maharaj Shri's fellow godbrothers, namely myself, Śrīmad Bhakti Suhrid Bodhayan Maharaj, Shripad Krishna Keshav Brahmachari, Shripad Jagan Mohan Brahmachari, Shripad Krishnadas Bābājī Maharaj, and others, along with all of their disciples from all ashrams, sannyasis, brahmacharis, grihastas, and vanaprasthas, tearfully offered flowers and garlands to his divine body. He was then offered Sri Bhagavan's flower garlands and sandalwood paste remnants, and tulsi leaves from the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, and Mahaprasad were placed in his mouth. His fully decorated bed and his divine body, which had been ornamented with fragrant flowers and garlands, were placed upon a large truck that had also been decorated with beautiful leaves, buds, and flowers. The members of the Sankirtan party sat nearby and loudly chanted the holy names, accompanied by mridanga, kartals, and other instruments. The prominent singer was again Shripad Krishnadas Bābājī Maharaj. Many devotees respectfully followed Sri Maharaj by bus during to Sri Dham Mayapur. At about 11 o'clock at night, Sri Maharaj and accompanying devotees reached the parent branch of Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Math, situated at Ishodhyan in Sri Dhampur. Bitterly crying, the residents of the Math there offered their heartfelt welcome to Sri Maharaj. His divine body, along with his bed, was respectfully placed in the large temple hall, a place that was very dear to him. The devotees loudly cried and offered prayers at his lotus feet while Sankirtan was continuously performed. After careful deliberation and consulting prominent Vaishnavas, Śrīmad Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaj, Śrīmad Bhakti Bhushan Bhagavat Maharaj, Śrīmad Bhakti Lalit Giri Maharaj, Shripad Jagamohan Das Brahmachari, Shripad Krishna Keshav Brahmachari, and other Vaishnavas, and I selected a place north of the deity's room and passed a bakula tree as the place for establishing Sri Maharaja's samadhi in the Math. With the site established, Sri Bhagavat Das Brahmachari and other devotees began digging the samadhi pit, which measured 7.5 feet in height and was as wide as the height of an average man on all 4 sides. At the bottom of the samadhi pit, Sri Maharaja's seat was established to face in the eastern direction. The digging of the samadhi pit was completed at approximately 2 o'clock in the morning. At that time, cow ghee was applied to Sri Maharaja's divine body while I recited Vedic hymns. During the auspicious recitation of those hymns, his divine body was bathed with water of the most worshipful Sri Ganga. After his body was wiped dry, he was dressed in a new set of clothes and decorated with tilak in 12 places. I then wrote the samadhi mantras from the Samskar Dipika on the chest of Sri Maharaj, using the mud of Sri Radhakund. Afterward, Sri Maharaj was taken from the temple hall to the samadhi pit amidst the loud chanting of kirtan. As someone called out the Jaidvani, Sri Maharaj was lowered into the samadhi pit and seated on a new asan facing east. After Śrīmad Bhakti Lalit Giri Maharaj worshipped Sri Maharaj using 16 types of paraphernalia and offered him fruits, roots, and sweets as bhog, he performed arati. After all the present devotees offered flowers to the lotus feet of Sri Maharaj, his body, which had been fixed in an upright sitting position, was dressed in new saffron cloth and then completely covered with salt and earth. While devotees offered earth, an indicating marker was kept to identify the exact place of his forehead. Once the earth enveloped the entirety of his body, a potted tulsi plant was placed above the samadhi and decorated with flower garlands from all sides. The devotees present then performed parikrama of the samadhi accompanied by a Maha Sankirtan. All this took place from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the morning. On the morning of 28 February 1979, immediately after the rituals of Sri Maharaja's Samadhi ceremony were completed, I narrated the pastime of Sri Haridas Thakur's departure from this world, as it is described in the 11th chapter of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita's Antya-lila. Kirtan was performed before and after his lecture. Śrīla Maharaja's appearance day happens to be on Uttana Akadashi, the same day as the disappearance day of my Param Gurudev, Śrīla Gaurakiśora Das Bābājī Mahārāja. It was on the disappearance day of my Parameshri Gurudev, my great grand spiritual master, Śrīla Jagannath Das Bābājī Mahārāja, that Pujapad Śrīla Maharaj manifested his disappearance pastime. Śrīla Rasikananda Prabhu also disappeared on this day. The message of Śrīla Maharaja's disappearance pastime has been the message of Śrīla Maharaja's disappearance pastime has been and continues to be widely announced everywhere throughout the country by telegram, telephone, all India radio, and daily newspapers. Condolence messages are being received from all over. News of Śrīla Maharaj Ji's disappearance was published in Yugantar on 28 February in the 1st March edition of Ananda Bazar Patrika and Basumati. Those are like the main magazines in Kolkata. Or at least the Ananda Bazar Patrika, I don't know Basumati. On 27 February, my fellow godbrothers Pujapad Tridandi Swami Śrīmad Bhakti Hriday Ban Maharaj, Śrīmad Bhakti Sarup Siddhanti Maharaj, Śrīmad Bhakti Kankan Tapasi Maharaj, and Śrīmad Bhakti Vivek Budayan Maharaj, and Śrīmad Bhakti Soda Ashram Maharaj arrived at the Kolkata Mat to offer their condolences, while Śrīpad Bhakti Kusum Shaman Maharaj and Śrīmad Bhakti Pragyan Yati Maharaj visited Sridham Mayapur Mat the following day on 28 February to express their sympathies. The disciples of Śrīpad Bhakti Rakshakshidhar Maharaj, Śrīpad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj, Śrīpad Yayavar Maharaj, Śrīpad Madhusudana Maharaj, Śrīpad Goswami Maharaj, Śrīpad Bhakti Prapana Damodar Maharaj, the servitors of Sri Devananda Gaudiya Mat, and many others have visited the Mayapur branch of Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Mat to express their condolences. The disappearance festival of the president and acharya of the original Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Mat at Ishodhyan, Sridham Mayapur, was held at that very mat on Thursday, 1st March 1979. The most prominent of Sri Maharaja's servants, Tridandi Swami Śrīmad Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaj, Śrīmad Bhakti Prasad Ashram Maharaj, Śrīmad Bhakti Surit Damodar Maharaj, and Sri Mangal Nilai Brahmachari, addressed the gathering by narrating his transcendental life and qualities. The 11 presiding acharyas of ISKCON were also present, and through their speeches, they offered their heartfelt devotional offerings to Sri Maharaja's lotus feet. Pujapad Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj, through various kirtans based on the mood of separation, further nourished the somber mood of the assembly. All the assembled devotees were then served Mahaprasad to their satisfaction. Excerpts from an article published in Sri Chaitanya Vani, February 1979. Jai Śrīla Bhakti Dayita Mādhava Gosvāmī Mahārāja ki Jai. All right, it is 8:05. I think it'd be nice to sing, because for Akadashi today, it'd be nice to sing Shuddha Bhakata Charana Renu. And maybe this evening, when I read about Śrīla Gaurakiśora Babaji Maharaj more, then we can sing Jaya Nilo Premadhana. What is it? 7th edition. How come it's not opening up? Dang it. Hold, 1 second. Let me see if I can get this. There. 1 second. There, now I got it. Sorry for the delay. Okay. Ashuddha bhakata charanareno bhajanayano kulam. Sorry, I have something stuck in my throat. Ashuddha bhakata charanareno bhajanayano kula bhakata seva paramasiddhi premalati karamoda Shuddha bhakata charanareno bhajanayano kula Mādhava tithi bhakti janani jatane palana kori Krishna vasate vasate boli paramaya dhare boli Shuddha bhakata charanareno bhajanayano kula Gauraya marje savastane karala brahmana rage se savastana heri bonami pranai bhakata sange mridanga vada shunite man avasada sada jashe Gaura-vihita kirtana shuni ananda hridaya nache Yugala murti dekhi amar paramayananda hoy Sada seva korite hoy Sakala prapancha jay Jedina grihe bhajan dekhi grihete goloka bhai Charana sindhu dekhiya ganga sukana sima pai Tulasi dekhi jurai pran Mādhava toshani jani Gaura priya shakal sevane Jivana sarthaka mane Bhakti vinod Krishna bhajane Anukula pajaha Prati divase parama suge Shikara kodayeta Shuddha bhakata charanareno Bhajanayano seva paramasiddhi premalati karmoda Shuddha bhakata charanareno bhajanayano kula Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jaya Sachinanda Jaya Gaura Hare, Sachinanda Jaya Gaura Hare, Jaya Saparshara Jaya Gaura Hare, Saparshara Jaya Gaura Hare, Jaya Gaura-kiśora Das Bābājī Mahārāja, Gaura-kiśora Das Bābājī Mahārāja, Jaya Saparshara Śrīla Prabhupāda, Saparshara Śrīla Prabhupāda, Jaya Bhakti Dayita Śrīla Mādhava Gosvāmī, Bhakti Dayita Śrīla Mādhava Gosvāmī, Jaya Bhakti Dayita Śrīla Mādhava Gosvāmī, Bhakti Dayita Śrīla Mādhava Gosvāmī, Jaya Gurudeva Gurudeva Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva Gurudeva Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol, Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Giridhari Shri Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki jai, Shri Govinda Gopinath Madan Mohan Ju ki jai, Nitya Vishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhaktivedanta Narayan Gosvāmī Mahārāja Śrīla Gurudev ki jai, Nitya Vishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhaktivedanta Vaman Gosvāmī Mahārāja ki jai, Nitya Vishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhaktivedanta Swāmī Mahārāja Śrīla Prabhupāda ki jai, Nitya Vishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosvāmī Mahārāja ki jai, Nitya Vishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Gosvāmī Prabhupāda ki jai, Nitya Vishtam Mahābhagavat Śrīla Gaurakiśora Bābājī Mahārāja ki jai, Tadiya Shubha Tirabhavtiti ki jai, Nitya Vishta Śrīla Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai, Nitya Vishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Śrīla Jagannath Das Bābājī Mahārāja ki jai, Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai, Shri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath, Shri Jeev Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath, Shri Goswami Prabhu ki jai, Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanantari, Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai, Namacharya Śrīla Haridas Thakur ki jai, Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj ki jai, Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kund ki jai, Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi ki jai, Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai, Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai, Shri Purnamasti Yogamaya ki jai, Shri Gopeshwara Mahadev ki jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Nitya Vishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhakti Dayita Mādhava Gosvāmī Mahārāja ki jai, Tadiya Shubha Avirbhav Titi ki jai, Shri Kartik Vrat ki jai, Vrat Palankari Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. For everybody in Chaitanya Gaudiya Mat and other mats, it's Kartik Vrat Samapti Divas ki jai. Shri Harinam, Shri Urjeshwari Shri Vishwabhanu Nandini, Shrimati Radha Thakurani ki jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shinitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Padadevi Sattvatai Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat Pranams. Haribol. Thank you for joining me today. I don't know what time I'm going to read. Again, maybe I'll read in the evening. I don't know. Maybe I won't even read, but there's so much to read today, and so I feel like I should read something sometime. Anyhow, thank you for joining me here. See you all tomorrow. Jai Shri Radhe.